This is the 8BitDo Pro 3. Is it good for fighting games? Let's find out. Here's the box that it comes in. It works on the Switch, Windows, Mac OS, Steam OS, and also mobile devices. Along with the controller itself, we got a pretty short USB-A to USB-C cable. You know, one of these days, 8BitDo's gotta make a longer cable. This thing is so freaking short. You also have a charging dock here. Look how nice this is. Put this guy on here. Bam. And you open up the bottom here. There's a dongle here. And then you get extra face buttons. Look at this. And you get this funny looking thing as well. Alright, so let's say I want to replace these with this guy. Essentially, this thing is a suction cup. And the buttons here are magnetically attached. There you go. Alright, now why did they give you this thing? That's because if you try to pry this open yourself, it's super difficult. It's next to impossible. That's why you gotta use this. I'm gonna put these in. And look at that, how cool is this, right? To be honest with you, it's probably better if they make the buttons colored like this and not labeled with the letters at all, and not make this detachable at all, and avoid moving parts, right? And that's not all for the goodies. You also have this little ball thing, looks like an arcade stick, right? These are for the thumbsticks. Just yank this guy out, put these in, bam. I mean, this is so freaking cool. Alright, let's get to the build quality of the controller. You know, this is a very well built controller. Everything just looks and feels really nice. Yep, can't bend it at all. The design is very reminiscent of a Nintendo controller, right? Damn, look at my veins, man. Holy moly. When the handles are vertical like this, you're gonna have a little bit of a wrist bend. This is not gonna be as comfortable as something like this, right? Where it's angled out. You see, there's hardly any wrist bend at all here. Going around the controller, face buttons, Nintendo style D-pad. You got triggers and shoulder buttons with 2 extra shoulder buttons. And then on the back, you also have 2 extra buttons back here too. And you can also lock the trigger as well. Now in terms of the switches, the face buttons feels like they're rubber dome based. These actually feel really nice and tactile with a lot of travel. These face buttons are pretty nice. I like them a lot. You can press both of them at the same time. They're nice and big. You can play claw pretty easily. Now the D-pad feels different though. There's a lot less travel and it sounds different. The shoulder buttons feels like they are rubber dome based as well. And the tension is pretty good on this. Not too soft and it's not too hard either. Now these extra bumper buttons, they feel like my switches actually. Now if you're wondering if these arcade style joysticks are good for fighting games, they're not. Okay. And the reason is this, is the tension is too soft. You can't do double taps. Look, if somehow they are able to make the tension of these joysticks adjustable, and if I can adjust the tension to be really hard, that will act more like an arcade stick. In order for this to be good for fighting games, they need to make this thing into a square gate, right? Because right now it's circular. Cardinal directions is kind of all over the place. So yeah, I hope they iterate on this actually, because I think it's a great idea and it looks really cool. So for now, I'm gonna have to like take these off and just use the regular default joystick cap here. And these actually are really good for fighting games. That's because the stick itself is pretty short, so you can do 360 motions really quick. Alright, let's talk about the D-pad. You know, I really like the Pro 2. I thought it was an excellent controller. Just overall great for a wide variety of games, including fighting games, because the D-pad was solid. Unfortunately though, on the Pro 3, I think they changed the switches on the D-pad. They did something different. Now, there's practically no travel at all. It just feels really stiff, and I've always maintained this. You've got to make the switches on the D-pad and the face buttons the same. And this is crucial for fighting games or games with timing where you have to use the D-pad and the face buttons at the same time. If they're different, they're going to have different timing. But that's not the biggest issue I have with this D-pad actually. The biggest issue I have with this D-pad is that it's too loose. Let me show you what I mean. It wiggles a lot. When the D-pad is loose like this, you're going to have a lot of missed diagonal inputs. So for example, if you want to do down, right? If you press down at a slightly off angle, I'm only pressing down. I'm not touching the back button at all. And look at this. And I can feel it. I can feel that this switch right here on this side is activating. Same thing on this side too. Alright, let me show you what I mean. So I mean to press down, punch and kick. Well, what happens? Diagonal back activates and I drop the combo. Well, the good news is over time I learned to be more careful and it does happen less and less. However, once in a while though, it still happens, especially in an intense match and you're super nervous, and if you hit this thing at the slightly wrong angle, you're gonna drop your combo. And last but not least, you notice anything? There is no pivot. You can press the whole D-pad down. Now you may be wondering, well, what's the issue with a D-pad not having a pivot? So when you play a character like E Honda here, and you're gonna need to do some sliding action. So you gotta go down back, you gotta slide it forward. So here I am sliding back, and then when I go ahead and I wanna do forward, because there's no pivot, when you slide it, any of these buttons can activate because there's no pivot. In short, not having a pivot can make motion inputs a lot more difficult to do than it needs to be. There are some nice qualities about this D-pad though. Because it is loose, I can do my backdash pretty quickly. And overall, it's pretty responsive. Double taps work well. Now you would think that because the D-pad is loose, that motion inputs are going to be good for it, right? Well, yes and no. Being loose makes it easier for you to slide your thumb around. However, because it is loose, you're going to jump accidentally a lot. Well, take quarter circle forwards for example, right? If you slide your thumb quickly up like this, you're going to activate the up forward direction, causing your character to jump like that. So having a loose D-pad is actually not a good thing. But at the same time, you don't want your D-pad to be too stiff either. So you gotta find that right balance. But of course, you can get used to it. You gotta just make sure when you do quarter circle forward that you slide your thumb off this way and not touch the upper portion of the button at all. When it comes to circular motions, like half circles, 360s, or 720s, the lack of a pivot here makes it really difficult for you to execute these moves. I can't do it. If you play Zangief, you probably are better off just use the thumbstick for this guy. Look how easy that is compared to the D-pad. 720. So yeah, this is really unfortunate because the package for this controller is awesome. It's just that the D-pad is too loose. You can use the Ultimate software to update your firmware and then adjust the mappings as well. You can create up to 3 profiles. Let's go to my DOA6 profile here. To program the extra buttons, you go to the back here. There we go. So this is what I got. Click on one of these and then you just choose whatever you want. You can program macros as well. So for this button, let's create a new macro and we're gonna call it DP for Dragon Punch. Bam. Then we're gonna start recording it. So I'm gonna go down, down, forward, forward, punch. Make sure you use the uniform interval time and let's stop it. We're gonna save it. So as you can see, it's not activated yet. So we gotta go here, activate. All right, now it says macro 1, right? And for this guy, let's highlight it. And I'm gonna select the Hayate throw. Let me show you the input. Look at this input. All right, let's go back into the game to see if this works. All right, here we go. There you go. Now, if it doesn't work for you, you gotta make sure that you press this button right here, right? And the light is lit up. If you don't see a light here, that means you're not in profile mode. That means you're on default mode. So here's the Hayate throw. I mean, I can't do this. So this is how it's supposed to look like. Okay, so let's see if my macro works. Let's see. Oh, okay, almost there. The very last kick didn't come out. All right, let's go over to Game Paddler to check the latency. When you are wired, looks like the polling rate is around 250 Hertz. This is definitely not the fastest. And jitter is actually pretty bad at 1.43 milliseconds. With button latency, you get about just under 6 milliseconds. That's not the fastest, but it's playable. But on the stick, it's 11.44 milliseconds. That's actually pretty bad. And for the dongle, for button latency, it jumps up to 9.2 milliseconds. Sticks, 14.77. So it's a little bit worse. And on Bluetooth, oh my goodness. Look at this. Button latency is 53 milliseconds and 73 milliseconds for the sticks. Polling rate is only 70 Hertz here. You know, I say this all the time on my reviews. Just plug it in. You're gonna get the most consistent results. Look at the jitter on Bluetooth. Look at this. My God, over 10 milliseconds. So it's gonna be super unstable. Alright, final thoughts. I like everything about this controller except for the D-pad. Unfortunately, I really wanted this controller to be good, and I thought it was going to be good because the Pro 2 was really excellent. But here, they messed up the D-pad, unfortunately. But I think the fix is easy. Get rid of the switches on here and go back to the Pro 2 switches. Make the D-pad tighter, and we have to have a pivot. I love the addition of these two extra shoulder buttons. And I think the controller is just cool looking, right? Now, of course, as we mentioned earlier, if they make this usable with the tension adjustment and a square gate, then we may have something special here. But as of right now though, this controller may be good for other types of games. If you're a big fighting game fan, I recommend you just go get the Pro 2. It doesn't have all the extra bells and whistles, but what it does have is a solid D-pad. Alright, hopefully you found the video to be helpful. If you did, give it a like, subscribe for more, and take care now.